I should have known better than to trust her. My name is Heidi, and I'm about to tell you how my mother-in-law destroyed my life with a smile on her face and a pen in her hand. But first, let me take you back to when I thought she was my biggest supporter. Heidi, darling, you absolutely must apply for the Pemberton Fellowship, Harmony said, setting down her wine glass with that decisive clink that meant she'd made up her mind about something. It's perfect for someone with your academic background. We were sitting in her pristine dining room, the kind where every piece of furniture cost more than my car. Bobby squeezed my hand under the table, beaming with pride. Even after 2 years of marriage, he still got that look whenever his mother praised me. I don't know, I said, twisting my wedding ring. The competition is insane. They only take 12 people worldwide. Nonsense. Harmony leaned forward, her perfectly manicured fingers drumming against the mahogany table. You graduated summa cum laude. Your thesis on international development policy was groundbreaking. I've seen the caliber of students who get these fellowships, and you're better than half of them. Coming from anyone else, I might have rolled my eyes. But Harmony wasn't just anyone. She was Dean of Academic Affairs at one of the most prestigious universities in the country. When she said something about academic merit, people listened. The application deadline is in 3 weeks, I said, already feeling that familiar flutter of possibility in my chest. Then we'd better get started. Harmony stood up, smoothing her silk blouse. I'll write your recommendation letter personally. With my endorsement, you'll be a shoo-in. Bobby's younger brother, Taylor, looked up from his phone. That's so cool, Heidi. You're like going to be famous or something. Don't be ridiculous, Taylor, Paige said, not looking up from cutting her salmon into precise, identical pieces. It's just a fellowship. Just a fellowship? Bobby laughed. Paige, this would set Heidi up for life. She could work anywhere in the world after this. Paige's fork paused mid-air. Well, I suppose that depends on what you consider important. Some people value stability and family over gallivanting around the globe. The temperature in the room seemed to drop a few degrees. I felt Bobby tense beside me. Paige, Harmony's voice carried a warning. What? I'm just saying there are different priorities in life. Some people are content building something meaningful at home instead of chasing every shiny opportunity that comes along. The Pemberton Fellowship isn't just any opportunity, I said, trying to keep my voice level. It's a chance to work with the UN on sustainable development initiatives, the kind of work that actually changes lives. Of course, dear. Paige smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm sure it's very important work. I just think it's wonderful when couples can build their careers together in the same place. But that's just me. Enough, Harmony said sharply. Heidi, ignore your sister-in-law. She's being provincial. This fellowship is exactly what you need to take your career to the next level. The rest of dinner passed in relative peace, but I caught Paige shooting me looks when she thought I wasn't paying attention. After dessert, Harmony pulled me aside in the kitchen. Don't let Paige get to you, she said, loading plates into the dishwasher with mechanical precision. She's always been jealous of ambitious women. It's why she's stuck in that dead-end marketing job. I don't want to cause problems in the family. You're not causing anything. You're pursuing excellence, which is exactly what you should be doing. Harmony turned to face me, her expression intense. Heidi, I see something special in you, something that shouldn't be wasted. Let me help you reach your potential. The sincerity in her voice made my throat tight. My own mother had never spoken to me like that, never seen my dreams as anything more than impractical fantasies. Thank you, I whispered. That means everything to me. Then it settled. Send me your application materials by Friday, and I'll have the recommendation letter ready by Monday. We're going to make this happen. 3 weeks later, I submitted what I knew was the strongest application of my life. Harmony's recommendation letter was glowing. She'd shown me a draft that made me sound like the next Nobel laureate. Bobby took me out to celebrate, convinced we'd be planning my move to Geneva within months. The rejection email arrived on a Tuesday morning, and it didn't just crush my dreams. It obliterated them. We regret to inform you that your application has been denied due to serious concerns regarding your character and professional integrity. I read those words 5 times before they sank in. Character concerns, professional integrity. What the hell was happening? I called Bobby first, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. They rejected me, I said the moment he picked up. But Bobby, they're saying there are character concerns. Character concerns. What does that even mean? Slow down, babe. What exactly did the email say? I read him the whole thing, my voice cracking on every word. When I finished, there was silence on the other end. That's insane, he finally said. There has to be some mistake. You're the most ethical person I know. I need to see my application file. I need to know what they're talking about. Of course. We'll figure this out together, okay? Maybe someone mixed up your file with someone else's. But even as he said it, I could hear the uncertainty in his voice. I called Alyssa next. She'd been my closest friend since grad school and now worked in university admissions. If anyone could help me navigate this nightmare, it was her. Holy shit, Heidi, she said after I explained everything. Character concerns? That's not language they use lightly. Someone must have written something really damaging. But who would do that? My professors love me. My references were all positive. Wait, who wrote your letters of recommendation? Professor Martinez from my master's program, Dr. Kim from my thesis committee, and Harmony. Alyssa was quiet for a moment. Heidi, you need to request your full application file. Like, immediately. Something's not right here. I spent the next 2 hours on the phone with the fellowship committee, being transferred from one person to another. Finally, a tired-sounding administrator told me they couldn't release application materials due to confidentiality agreements with recommenders. But it's my application, I said. How can I not see my own file? I'm sorry, but that's our policy. The decision is final. I hung up and screamed into a pillow until my throat was raw. That evening, I sat across from Harmony at another family dinner, studying her face for any sign of, what, guilt, satisfaction? But she looked exactly the same as always, composed, elegant, slightly bored by the conversation happening around her. I heard about the fellowship, she said when Bobby stepped away to help Taylor with homework. I'm so sorry, dear. These committees can be terribly political. They mentioned character concerns, I said, watching her reaction carefully. Do you have any idea what that could mean? Harmony's expression didn't change. Character concerns? How odd. Perhaps there was some misunderstanding about your academic record? Or maybe they confused you with another candidate? Maybe. I took a sip of wine, trying to calm my nerves. I just wish I could see what they're basing this on. Well, these things happen for a reason, Harmony said, cutting into her chicken with surgical precision. Perhaps it's time to focus on what really matters, supporting Bobby, building a stable life here. Not everyone is meant for international careers. The words hit me like a slap. What do you mean by that? Nothing negative, of course. It's just that some people are better suited for different paths. There's no shame in recognizing your limitations. I stared at her, feeling like I was seeing her clearly for the first time. Limitations? Heidi, Bobby said, returning to the table. You okay? You look pale. I'm fine, I lied. After dinner, I helped Harmony clear the dishes while everyone else moved to the living room. We worked in silence until she suddenly spoke. You know, Heidi, I've been thinking about your situation. Oh? She turned to face me, and for a split second, her mask slipped. The warmth was gone, replaced by something cold and calculating. Maybe this rejection is a blessing in disguise. Your place is here, with your husband, not gallivanting around Europe playing at being important. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but every word was razor sharp. Some people need to learn to be content with what they have instead of always reaching for more. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. What are you saying? but just as quickly as it had appeared, the mask was back in place. I'm saying that everything happens for a reason, dear. Now, shall we join the others? I followed her into the living room on autopilot, my mind reeling. Bobby was laughing at something Taylor had said, completely oblivious to what had just happened in the kitchen. "You're quiet tonight," he said, pulling me down onto the couch beside him. "Just tired," I managed. But as I sat there, surrounded by his family, one thought kept echoing in my head. Harmony knew something, and whatever it was, she was glad I'd been rejected. I was going to find out what she'd done to me, and when I did, she was going to pay for it. I waited 3 days before calling Zane. He was Bobby's friend from college, worked in IT at the university, and had always been kind to me. More importantly, he'd seen enough of Harmony's behavior at family gatherings to know she wasn't the saint everyone thought she was. "Heidi, what's up?" His voice was cautious when he answered. "I need a favor, a big one." "Okay, what kind of favor?" I took a deep breath. "I need you to help me get a copy of something from the university system. Something I should have access to, but they're blocking me from seeing." Silence stretched between us. Finally, he sighed. "This is about the fellowship rejection, isn't it?" "How did you—" "Bobby mentioned it. Look, Heidi, I can't just hack into confidential files. I could lose my job." "I'm not asking you to hack anything. I just need you to help me access my own application materials. They're stonewalling me, and I think someone wrote something terrible about me." "Who would do that?" I couldn't bring myself to say it out loud yet. "I don't know. That's what I need to find out." Another long pause. "Meet me at the coffee shop on 5th Street tomorrow at lunch. And Heidi, don't tell anyone about this conversation." The next day, Zane looked nervous as he slid into the booth across from me. He kept glancing around like he expected campus security to burst through the door. "I've been thinking about this all night," he said. "If I do this and get caught, it's not just my job on the line. It's criminal charges. I understand. But Zane, someone destroyed my reputation and I don't even know what they said about me. How is that fair?" He studied my face for a long moment. "You really think someone sabotaged you?" "I know it sounds paranoid, but yes. The language in that rejection letter, it wasn't about my qualifications. It was personal." Zane pulled out his laptop and opened it, shielding the screen from other customers. "Okay, I can't promise anything, but let me see what I can do. What's your student ID number?" I rattled it off, my heart pounding as he typed. After what felt like forever, he turned the screen toward me. "I found your file. The recommendation letters are here, but they're password protected. I can download them, but once I do this, there's no going back. Are you sure you want to know?" My mouth was dry. "Yes." He clicked a few more keys, then closed the laptop. "I'll email these to you from a secure account. Check your messages in an hour." "Zane, thank you. I owe you—" "You don't owe me anything. Just be careful with whatever you find, okay?" That hour was the longest of my life. When the email finally came, I stared at the attachment for 5 full minutes before opening it. There were 3 files, one from each of my recommenders. Professor Martinez's letter was glowing, just as I'd expected. Dr. Kim's was equally positive. Then I opened the 3rd file. The letter was from Harmony, but it wasn't the one she'd shown me. This one was a masterpiece of character assassination disguised as professional concern. While Ms. Heidi possesses adequate academic credentials, I have serious reservations about her character and professional integrity. During our association, I have observed troubling patterns of dishonesty, manipulation, and a concerning willingness to compromise ethical standards for personal gain. The letter went on for 2 pages, painting me as a manipulative liar who couldn't be trusted with any position of responsibility. Every sentence was carefully crafted to sound professional while being utterly devastating. I read it 3 times before the full impact hit me. This wasn't just sabotage, it was character murder. My phone rang. Bobby. "Hey babe, how was your day?" "Fine," I said, my voice sounding strange even to me. "You sure? You sound weird." I'm just tired, long day. Well, get some rest. Mom invited us for dinner tomorrow night. She's making that pasta dish you like. After I hung up, I sat staring at the letter until the words blurred together. Then I called Alyssa. She destroyed me, I said without preamble when she answered. What? Who? Harmony. I got a copy of her recommendation letter. Alyssa, she called me dishonest and manipulative. She said I have no professional integrity. Jesus Christ, are you sure it's really from her? It has her digital signature, her university letterhead, everything. But here's the thing. She showed me a completely different letter before I submitted my application. A glowing one. That bitch wrote 2 letters? She played me perfectly, made me think she was supporting me while she was stabbing me in the back. Alyssa was quiet for a moment. Heidi, this is bigger than just the fellowship. If she sent this to other places, my blood ran cold. What do you mean? Recommendation letters don't just disappear. They get filed, shared, referenced. If she's been bad-mouthing you to other institutions, I felt sick. How do I find out? You need to contact every place that might have received information about you. Graduate programs, job applications, anything where her opinion might carry weight. I spent the next 2 hours making calls. By the end, I had my answer. Harmony's poison had spread far beyond the fellowship committee. She'd sent versions of that letter to 3 other institutions I'd applied to over the past year. I'd been blacklisted, and I hadn't even known it. The scope of Harmony's sabotage hit me like a freight train. 3 other institutions. 3 other opportunities she'd poisoned with her lies. I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by printed emails, phone records, and notes, building my case like I was preparing for war, because that's exactly what this was. You need to report her, Alyssa said over video chat, her face serious on my laptop screen. This isn't just personal vendetta territory anymore. This is professional misconduct on a massive scale. Report her to who? She's a dean, Alyssa. Who's going to believe me over her? The University Ethics Board. They handle this kind of thing. I laughed bitterly. Right. And who do you think sits on that board? Her colleagues? Her friends? Not all of them. Alyssa leaned closer to her camera. Remember Professor Griffin, your favorite from undergrad? The name hit me like lightning. Erin Griffin, the brilliant professor who'd inspired me to pursue international development in the first place. She'd left our university suddenly during my senior year, right after some kind of scandal. What about her? She's at State University now. Just got appointed head of their ethics board. Heidi, if anyone would understand what you're going through, it's her. I stared at Alyssa's pixelated face. What scandal? I never found out what really happened. Nobody talked about it officially, but there were rumors. Something about research funding being questioned, her integrity being challenged. Sound familiar? My hands started shaking. You think Harmony was involved? I think Harmony has a pattern, and you're not her first victim. After we hung up, I spent an hour crafting an email to Professor Griffin. I attached everything: Harmony's fake letter, the real one, documentation of the other institutions that had been contacted, and a timeline of events. My finger hovered over the send button for 10 minutes. Once I sent this, there would be no going back. I'd be declaring war on my husband's mother, potentially destroying my marriage, definitely tearing apart his family. I hit send. Professor Griffin called me 2 hours later. Heidi, I just read your email. Can you meet me tomorrow? I'm driving down to the city. You believe me? Oh, I more than believe you. I've been waiting 12 years for someone to finally expose what that woman really is. We met at a small cafe downtown. Professor Griffin looked older than I remembered, but her eyes still held that sharp intelligence that had made her lectures so captivating. Tell me everything, she said after we'd ordered coffee. I walked her through the entire story, from Harmony's initial encouragement to the devastating rejection letter. She listened without interrupting, occasionally taking notes. The letter she showed you versus the one she actually sent, she said finally. Do you still have both? I have screenshots of the fake one she showed me, and Zane got me the real one from the system. Zane could get in serious trouble for that. I know, but Professor Griffin, what she did to me, she's done it before, hasn't she? To you? Her jaw tightened. 12 years ago, I was up for a major research grant. Harmony was on the review committee. She seemed supportive, even helped me refine my proposal. Then suddenly questions arose about my previous work. Allegations of data manipulation that were completely fabricated. What happened? I couldn't prove she was behind it, but I knew. The investigation dragged on for months. Even though I was eventually cleared, the damage was done. My reputation was shot. My funding dried up. I had to leave. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be angry. Because now we have a chance to stop her from doing this to anyone else. She leaned forward. Heidi, I need you to understand something. If we pursue this, it's going to get ugly. Harmony will fight back with everything she has. She already destroyed my career. What else can she do to me? She can destroy your marriage, your relationships with Bobby's family. She can make your life hell in ways you haven't even imagined yet. I thought about Bobby, about how devastated he'd be when he learned the truth about his mother, about Taylor, who looked up to me, about the family dinners that would never be the same. She made her choice when she decided to destroy me, I said. Now I'm making mine. Professor Griffin smiled for the first time since we'd sat down. Good, because I've been documenting Harmony's behavior for years, waiting for the right moment. You just gave it to me. She pulled out a thick folder from her briefcase. I've kept records of every questionable decision she's made, every career she's derailed, every student who's come to me with stories similar to yours. We're not just going after her for what she did to you, Heidi. We're going after her for all of it. I stared at the folder, realizing I wasn't alone in this fight. How many others? At least 8 that I can prove. Probably more who were too scared to come forward. What do we do now? Now we file a formal complaint with the University Ethics Board, and then we watch Harmony's world burn. The university moved faster than I expected. Within a week of filing the complaint, Harmony received a formal notice that she was under investigation. I knew because Bobby came home that night looking like he'd been hit by a truck. Mom got called into a meeting with the ethics board, he said, slumping onto our couch. They're investigating her for professional misconduct. I kept my face neutral while my heart hammered against my ribs. What kind of misconduct? Something about recommendation letters. She thinks it's politically motivated. You know how cutthroat academia can be. I'm sure it'll work out, I said, hating how easily the lie rolled off my tongue. Bobby looked at me with those trusting eyes that had made me fall in love with him. She asked if you might know anything about it. Apparently, your name came up in the complaint. My name? She thinks maybe you're being used as a pawn by someone with a grudge against her. She's worried about you, babe. I almost laughed at the audacity. Even while under investigation, Harmony was spinning herself as the victim and me as the naive fool being manipulated by her enemies. I should probably call her, I said. Make sure she knows I support her. The next morning, I dialed Harmony's number. She answered on the first ring. Heidi, darling, I'm so glad you called. I assume Bobby told you about this ridiculous investigation? He did. I'm so sorry you're going through this. It's clearly a witch hunt orchestrated by my enemies, but I'm not worried. The truth always comes out. Her voice was smooth as silk, but I could hear the steel underneath. I do hope you'll be willing to speak on my behalf if needed. Your testimony about our positive relationship would be very helpful. Of course, I said, anything I can do to help. Wonderful. I knew I could count on you. After I hung up, I felt sick. She was so confident, so sure she could manipulate everyone around her. Even now, she thought she had me under her thumb. That afternoon, Paige called. We need to talk. she said without preamble. Can you meet me for coffee? I found her at a Starbucks near her office, looking more serious than I'd ever seen her. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. I know you filed that complaint against Mom. My blood turned to ice. What are you talking about? Don't lie to me, Heidi. I've known my mother my entire life. I know how she operates, and I know what she's capable of. Paige leaned across the small table. The question is, do you have any idea what you've unleashed? She destroyed my career, Paige. She lied about me to multiple institutions. I know. The admission hit me like a slap. I've known for years that she does this to people who threaten her or don't fit into her perfect vision of how things should be. Then why didn't you ever say anything? Because she's my mother. Paige's voice cracked. Because I was scared of what would happen if I crossed her. Because I'm a coward, okay? We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of her confession hanging between us. She's going to destroy you for this, Paige said quietly. She's already started digging into your past, looking for anything she can use against you. She's calling in favors, spreading rumors, poisoning wells you don't even know exist yet. Let her try. I have evidence. Evidence won't matter if no one's willing to listen to it, and Mom has a lot of friends in high places. Not all of them. Paige studied my face. You have someone on the inside, don't you? Someone she can't touch. I didn't answer, but my expression must have given me away. Jesus, Heidi, you really think you can win this? I think she's gotten away with ruining people's lives for too long. And what about Bobby? What about Taylor? What about our family? What about all the people she's destroyed over the years? Don't they matter? Paige's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and paled. She wants to see me, right now. Paige, don't. Whatever you're about to say, just don't. She stood up, gathering her purse. I can't protect you from what's coming, but I can give you one piece of advice. Watch your back. Mom doesn't just destroy careers, she destroys lives. That evening, Bobby was unusually quiet during dinner. Finally, he set down his fork and looked at me. Mom wants to have a family meeting tomorrow night. She says there are some things we need to discuss about this investigation. What kind of things? She wouldn't say. But Heidi, he reached across the table and took my hand. Whatever happens, we'll get through it together, okay? I squeezed his hand, knowing it might be one of the last times he'd look at me with such trust and love. Together, I agreed, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop now or I'll make sure you lose everything that matters to you. This is your only warning. H. I deleted the message and smiled. Game on, Harmony. The family meeting was set for Sunday dinner, but Professor Griffin called me that morning with news that changed everything. The investigation committee wants to interview you tomorrow, she said. But Heidi, there's something else. We found more victims. How many more? 6 additional cases we can substantiate. Students, junior faculty, even a visiting researcher from Germany. Harmony has been systematically destroying careers for over a decade. I sat down hard on my kitchen chair. 12 years of this? At least. And here's the kicker. She kept files, detailed records of everyone she considered a threat to the university's reputation or her own position. Files, digital records, correspondence, even personal information she gathered on people. The IT department found them during their investigation. Heidi, your name is in there, along with detailed notes about your marriage to Bobby, your academic history, even your financial situation. My hands started shaking. She was planning this from the beginning. It looks that way, but there's more. Paige's name is in there too. Paige, but she's her daughter. Apparently, Harmony was concerned about Paige's lack of ambition and tendency toward defiance. She has contingency plans for controlling her too. I thought about Paige's warning yesterday, her admission that she'd known about her mother's behavior, but stayed silent out of fear. Professor Griffin, what happens now? Now we present everything to the full ethics board. With this much evidence, there's no way they can ignore it or sweep it under the rug. After we hung up, I stared at my phone, dreading the evening ahead. Bobby would be expecting me at his mother's house in a few hours, completely unaware that his world was about to implode. I arrived at Harmony's house to find the whole family already gathered in the living room. The atmosphere was tense. Taylor kept glancing between his mother and me, Paige sat rigid in her chair, and Bobby looked like he hadn't slept. Now that we're all here, Harmony began, her voice carrying that familiar authority, I want to discuss this investigation and how it affects our family. She was dressed impeccably as always, but I noticed the slight tremor in her hands as she reached for her wine glass. As you all know, I'm being targeted by individuals who want to damage my reputation and, by extension, this family's standing in the community. Mom, Taylor interrupted, what exactly are they accusing you of? Harmony's smile was razor-sharp. They're claiming I wrote negative recommendation letters about certain individuals. It's completely fabricated, of course. But why would anyone make that up? Taylor pressed. Because, darling, success breeds jealousy. There are people who resent my position, my influence, and they're using this investigation to try to bring me down. I watched Bobby's face as his mother spoke. He wanted to believe her. I could see it in his eyes, but doubt was creeping in. The problem, Harmony continued, turning her gaze directly to me, is that some people in this family might be unknowingly helping my enemies. What do you mean? Bobby asked. I mean that someone has been feeding information to the investigators. Someone with access to our family conversations, our private discussions. Her eyes never left mine. Someone who might think they're doing the right thing, but is actually being manipulated. The room went dead silent. Taylor looked confused. Paige stared at her lap, and Bobby's face went pale. Mom, are you suggesting that someone in this room... I'm not suggesting anything, Harmony said smoothly. I'm simply pointing out that the timing of this investigation is very convenient for certain people who might benefit from my downfall. That's enough. The voice came from an unexpected source. Paige. She stood up, her hands clenched into fists. Just stop it, Mom. Paige, sit down. No, I'm done sitting down. I'm done staying quiet while you destroy people. Paige turned to face the rest of us. She did it. Everything they're investigating, she did it. Harmony's mask finally slipped. You ungrateful little... I've seen the files, Mom. The ones you keep on all of us. Yes, even me. Even your own daughter isn't safe from your need to control everything and everyone. Bobby stood up slowly. What files? Ask her, Paige said, pointing at Harmony. Ask her about the detailed records she keeps on everyone she considers a threat. Ask her about the backup plans she has for controlling our lives. Those files are confidential university business, Harmony snapped, but her composure was cracking. University business? I finally spoke up. Is that what you call the file you kept on me? The one where you documented my marriage, my finances, my career goals, so you could figure out the best way to destroy me? Bobby's head whipped toward me. Heidi, what are you talking about? Your mother wrote a recommendation letter that destroyed my fellowship application and blacklisted me from other opportunities. She's been systematically ruining careers for over a decade. That's a lie, Harmony said, but her voice was shrill now. I have copies of the letters, Bobby, the fake one she showed me and the real one she sent. I have documentation of every institution she contacted to poison my reputation. Bobby looked between his mother and me, his world visibly crumbling. Mom, tell me this isn't true. Harmony straightened her shoulders, her mask sliding back into place. Everything I did was to protect this family, to protect you from making a mistake that would have ruined your marriage. The admission hung in the air like a bomb that had just gone off. You did it, Bobby whispered. You actually did it. I saved your marriage, Harmony said coldly. That woman would have left you the moment she got that fellowship. I protected you from abandonment. Taylor stood up abruptly. I can't listen to this anymore. Heidi, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He walked out, leaving the rest of us in stunned silence. The ethics board hearing was held in the university's main conference room. I sat in the witness section, watching Harmony enter with her lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in an expensive suit who probably cost more per hour than I made in a week. Professor Griffin sat at the head of the long table, flanked by 4 other board members. She'd warned me that this wouldn't be easy, that Harmony would fight back with everything she had. This hearing will address allegations of professional misconduct against Dean Harmony Boyd, Professor Griffin announced. We'll begin with testimony from the complainant. I stood up, my legs shaky but my voice steady. My name is Heidi Boyd. I'm married to the respondent's son. Harmony's lawyer immediately objected. The complainant's relationship to my client creates an obvious bias and conflict of interest. Noted, Professor Griffin said. Please continue, Ms. Boyd. I walked them through everything, the fellowship application, Harmony's fake encouragement, the devastating rejection, and the discovery of her real recommendation letter. I presented the evidence methodically, screenshots, email records, documentation from other institutions. The respondent didn't just sabotage one application, I said. She systematically destroyed my reputation across multiple institutions while pretending to support me. Harmony's lawyer stood up. My client was exercising her professional judgment based on legitimate concerns about the complainant's character and suitability. What legitimate concerns? Professor Griffin asked. The lawyer shuffled through her papers. Dean Boyd observed troubling patterns of behavior that raised questions about Ms. Boyd's integrity and professional conduct, such as manipulation of family relationships for personal gain, dishonesty about her true intentions regarding the fellowship, and a concerning pattern of... That's enough, Professor Griffin interrupted. Do you have documentation of these alleged behaviors? The lawyer hesitated. My client's professional observations and judgment. Documentation, counselor, not opinions. The documentation speaks for itself in the recommendation letter. Professor Griffin turned to Harmony. Dean Boyd, you're required to testify under oath. Do you swear that the contents of your recommendation letter were based on factual observations? Harmony stood up, still maintaining her composure. I swear that everything I wrote was based on my professional assessment of the complainant's character and suitability for the fellowship. And yet you showed Ms. Boyd a completely different letter before she submitted her application? That was a draft. I revised my assessment after further consideration. Further consideration of what, specifically? Harmony's pause lasted too long. Additional observations of her behavior and motivations. Professor Griffin opened a thick folder. Dean Boyd, are you familiar with the digital files recovered from your university computer? The color drained from Harmony's face. I don't know what you're referring to. Files containing detailed personal information about students, faculty, and staff. Information that goes far beyond professional assessments. Professor Griffin pulled out several documents. Files that include financial records, personal relationships, and what appear to be strategic plans for influencing or controlling individuals' careers. Harmony's lawyer leaned over to whisper something, but Harmony waved her away. Those files contain confidential university business. University business that includes your daughter-in-law's bank statements, her husband's employment history, her personal correspondence with friends and colleagues. The room was dead silent. I could feel the other board members' shock radiating across the table. Dean Boyd, Professor Griffin continued, we've identified 12 individuals whose careers were negatively impacted by your actions over the past 15 years. Would you like to explain why you systematically targeted people who posed no threat to university operations? I protected this institution. You protected your own position by eliminating anyone you perceived as competition or a challenge to your authority. Bobby's voice came from behind me. I'd like to testify. Everyone turned. He was standing in the back of the room, looking like he'd aged 10 years since Sunday night. Mr. Boyd, you weren't scheduled to appear today, Professor Griffin said gently. I know, but I need to say this. He walked forward, his eyes fixed on his mother. I've known my whole life that my mother was controlling, but I thought it was just overprotectiveness. I never imagined she was capable of this. Bobby, don't, Harmony said, her voice cracking for the first time. She admitted it, in front of our whole family. She said she destroyed my wife's career to protect me. She said Heidi would have left me if she'd gotten the fellowship. Bobby's voice was getting stronger. My mother decided my wife was a threat to her vision of our family, so she destroyed her dreams. That's not, Harmony started. It is exactly what happened. And if she did it to Heidi, she did it to all these other people too. Professor Griffin looked at Harmony. Dean Boyd, do you have anything else to say in your defense? Harmony stood there for a long moment, her perfect composure finally crumbling. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. I did what I thought was necessary. Necessary for what? To maintain order, to protect what mattered. By destroying innocent people's careers? Harmony lifted her chin, and for a moment the mask was completely gone. What I saw underneath was cold, calculating, and utterly without remorse. I have no regrets about protecting my family and my institution from people who would have damaged them. The hearing ended 20 minutes later. As we filed out, Harmony walked past me without a word. But I caught her eye, and in that moment, I saw something that chilled me to the bone. She wasn't sorry. She was just sorry she'd been caught. The university's decision came down 3 days after the hearing. Professor Griffin called me personally to deliver the news. Harmony's tenure has been revoked, effective immediately, she said. She's been terminated for cause, which means no severance, no benefits, and her pension is under review. What about the other victims? The university is reaching out to everyone affected. They're offering to write corrective letters, provide new recommendations, and in some cases, financial compensation for damages. I hung up and stared at my phone. It was over. Harmony had finally faced consequences for her actions, but the victory felt hollow when Bobby walked through our front door that evening, looking like a ghost. It's all over the news, he said, slumping onto our couch. Local stations, academic journals, social media, everyone's calling her a monster. Bobby. She is a monster, isn't she? He looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. My mother destroyed people's lives for sport, and I never saw it. You couldn't have known. Couldn't I? All those times she made snide comments about people, all the careers that mysteriously stalled around her, all the students who just disappeared from programs. He rubbed his face with his hands. I think part of me always knew, but I didn't want to see it. We sat in silence for a while. Finally, Bobby spoke again. I don't know how to forgive you. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? You lied to me for weeks. You went behind my back, enlisted my friends, destroyed my family. I know she deserved it, but you lied to me. I tried to tell you, no, you didn't. You made the decision to destroy my mother without ever giving me a choice in the matter. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but he was right. I had lied. I had gone behind his back. I had chosen revenge over trust. I'm sorry, I said. I know you are, but I don't know if sorry is enough. The next morning, Taylor showed up at our door with a suitcase. Can I stay here for a while? He asked. I can't be in the same house as her anymore. Of course, I said, stepping aside to let him in. What did she say when you told her you were leaving? That I was being manipulated by you, just like Bobby was. That I'd regret choosing sides against family. Taylor dropped his bag and looked at me. But you are family, Heidi. You've been more of a mother to me these past 2 years than she ever was. Bobby emerged from the kitchen, coffee mug in hand. Hey, buddy, you okay? No, Taylor said honestly, but I will be. We all will be. That afternoon, Paige called. I wanted to thank you, she said without preamble. For what? For having the courage to do what I couldn't. I've been living in fear of her my entire life, and you freed me from that. How is she handling everything? Paige was quiet for a moment. She's not. She's holed up in the house, refusing to see anyone or answer the phone. I think reality is finally hitting her. Do you think she'll ever admit what she did was wrong? No. She'll go to her grave believing she was protecting people from themselves. That's who she is. The fellowship committee reached out to me the following week. They offered to reconsider my application based on the corrected information, but I turned them down. Why? Alyssa asked when I told her. This is what you wanted. It was what I wanted before all this happened. Now, I don't know. The whole experience changed me. Changed you how? I thought about it. I learned I'm capable of things I never thought I was. Good things and terrible things. I destroyed a family to get justice, and I'm not sure that makes me a hero. You stopped a predator who was ruining innocent people's lives. I did, but I also lost my husband's trust, maybe permanently. I turned his brother against his mother. I tore apart a family that was built on lies and control. Maybe, but it was still a family. Zayn stopped by that evening to check on us. He'd been cleared of any wrongdoing in the investigation, but I knew he was still worried about the fallout. Any word from Harmony? He asked. Bobby shook his head. She's been radio silent since the termination. Paige says she won't even come to the door. What do you think she'll do now? I don't know, Bobby said. Start over somewhere else, probably. She's too proud to admit defeat. Will she be able to get another job in academia? Not likely. This kind of scandal follows you. As Zayn left, I realized something. Harmony had spent her career destroying other people's futures, and now her own future was destroyed. There was a certain poetic justice in that. But as I watched Bobby struggle with the wreckage of his family, I wondered if justice was worth the cost. Taylor appeared in the doorway, backpack slung over his shoulder. I'm going to stay with a friend tonight, he said. Give you two some space to figure things out. After he left, Bobby and I sat on opposite ends of our couch, the distance between us feeling like an ocean. So, what happens now? I asked. Bobby was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I nodded, accepting that some victories come with prices too high to celebrate. I'd gotten my justice, but I'd lost something precious in the process. The truth had set me free, but it had also set everything else on fire. And now we all had to live in the ashes.